How do we navigate AI? That's the topic that we're going to address today on Flourishment. I'm your host, Tina Yeager, and today I have an amazing, incredible guest on Flourishment. Her name is Kathleen Cooke, and she's an award-winning producer, a SAG actress, global speaker, writer, and co-founder of the multi-award-winning media company Cooke Media Group and the nonprofit The Influence Lab. She's the founder and global director of Influence Women, and she has a lot to say about AI. Welcome, Kathleen. I'm delighted to have you on Flourishment today.
Oh, thank you so much, Tina. It's so lovely to be with you today. And I don't know whether I have a lot to say about AI. I'm just trying to hold on to the reins and ride the pony down the road, so to speak.
Kathleen, you recently delivered a workshop at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention on AI. What were some of the main things that you wanted your audience there to take away about the emerging technology that we need to both use correctly and somewhat beware of?
Well, AI is what I'm calling the new fire. When the caveman discovered fire in the cave back in the day, it changed everything. And AI has and is going to continue to change everything for us as far as communication, as far as relationships, as far as finances and health, on and on and on. It's going to touch every part of our lives. AI cannot be feared. If we can imagine cavemen in the cave discovering this bright, shiny thing that finally brought light to them, that AI can bring light to us. It can bring great warmth to us. It can help us propel ourselves in whatever we want to endeavor to do. But it can also burn us, and it can also cause much destruction. So AI, as I said, is the new fire, and we need to know how to harness it, so to speak, how to use it with wisdom and understanding, and embrace it, because I believe if we are not embracing it, getting some understanding about it, we're going to be left behind. And it is going to take jobs, but the jobs that are going to remain are the ones who understand how to use AI for their jobs and for their work and their everyday lives. And there are lots of things to dissect here about AI. We could sit here for hours and talk about all the ins and outs of it. But AI is here. It is the fire of this new culture and world today. And so we need to embrace it. We did address the subject of AI at the National Religious Broadcasting Convention for the nonprofit I lead called Influence Women. And Influence Women focuses on women working in media, entertainment, arts, music, and leadership, and how we can grow our skills and talents and encourage those who are working in the industry as well. I call it the Christ words, the C words, connect women so we can collaborate to be able to create, to change the culture for Christ. And so one of the focuses again at our event at the National Religious Broadcasting Convention this last year was on AI. And we brought in various experts, producers, actors who are using it in their fields. But Tina, I started out to give a short teaching on AI, and most people don't remember or they don't realize that AI is actually in the Bible. There is a city that is talked about in Joshua 6, chapters 6 and 7, called the city of AI. And Joshua, when he conquered Jericho, we may remember that story. The walls came tumbling down, and he was given the instructions by God. Everything in the city was to be destroyed. It was to be given to God. It was not to be taken for anyone. However, one of Joshua's leading guys, one of his generals, his leaders, decided that he wanted some of that great stuff that was in the city of Jericho. And he took and he hid it, and he dug a hole in his tent and hid it inside his tent. Joshua is now told to go on to the city of Ai. That will be the next city that he is to conquer. And he decides what he's going to do. So he decides he doesn't have to take all of his men. He's only going to take a fraction of them because, after all, God was with them beforehand. He doesn't do his homework to find out whether everything was destroyed, that no one lied to him, that everyone followed those instructions from God to the letter. And so they go to conquer the city of Ai. And what happens? Well, they get pushed back. Several of the men then were killed, and they were driven back to Jericho. So here's Joshua now asking God, why? What happened? Why weren't you with us? Why were we not able to take over the city of Ai? And God said, a man amongst you who has stolen from me and lied to you. And so Joshua finds that man, of course. He is killed. All of his possessions are taken. So what can we learn today from the city and this story of AI that we can apply toward the new AI, artificial intelligence, that AI that we're talking about? I think it's very interesting that God might have given us this story for such a time as this. I believe that God is teaching us two things on that. He's teaching us that we cannot steal and we cannot lie. And when it comes to AI, as Christians, as creatives, we need to understand how it's used, the wisdom of it, and we cannot steal from other people for their properties. We cannot lie to God that there are properties or they belong to us when they belong to someone else. And I believe God is asking us as Christians to lead the charge here. The second thing we can learn that I believe God teaches us from conquering the city of AI that applies to artificial intelligence, AI today, is that we cannot take shortcuts. We cannot presume that what we are doing is the right direction to go. We need to do our research. We need to make sure that we are not using AI to take shortcuts that are inappropriate, that are going the wrong way, that could potentially be used for evil or harm of man. And of course, there's lots of debates right now on who's going to be the gatekeeper of AI, who's going to oversee what AI can and cannot spill out to us. But the bottom line for me as a Christian and as a woman working in the industry is we have to use it with wisdom. We cannot lie and we cannot steal from God. And we need to know how to use it to progress what we're trying to do with our productions, with our artistic endeavors. And so that's kind of the first thing I would say about AI is understand that God really, I believe, put AI in the Bible so that we could learn a couple lessons at moving forward. And so then I was privileged to introduce several of our speakers during the conference. One was an actress who is now using AI with college students. Another is a woman who has done extensive research and talked about how really AI is nothing more than math, really. It's mathematics. So we can embrace AI. We can use AI without fear and understand that it's just math. It's just understanding math. But at the same time, how to use it with wisdom as well. One of the things, too, I would point out, Tina, to women who are particularly watching is when AI was developed, it was predominantly, if you read any of the history or the research of AI, was predominantly created and developed by men, particularly white men. And so the questions that it was asked, the information that it was fed, all came from that type of perspective. And one of the criticisms and one of the things they've had to backpedal on is trying to get feminine input into the answers that AI has been given, which I find really interesting. Also, the ethnicities that need to be given and the language. It's a language based program. And so, what's the language that is being used and how is that being put forth? And so, I think it's very interesting and challenging for us as women, because most of us, I don't know how you are, Tina, but I've never been very good at math. It was never my forte. I came from the creative sphere. I wanted to create and draw and do all things creative. And for a lot of women, I think that we've shied away from that because of how AI is developed. But we need women in that field, and we need women there more than ever. And especially we need Christian women. And we need Christian women creating the content that is being fed into AI. When we ask AI, is there a God? Who is God? How do I find God? All of those questions need to be spilled back in the appropriate way and in the right way. And if we're not feeding AI the correct answers, the right biblical foundations, then it's not going to be spilling back what those correct answers need to be. From an emotional point of view, from a moral point of view, AI gets a little scary because of how it's been fed. So that's where we, I believe, as Christian writers and producers and content creators, have the ability to step in right now, and rightly so, especially as women, to give that feminine touch and the ethnicities that need to come into it as well, and the cultural ways that we can continue to feed AI the right kind of content that will be appropriate. There's going to be lots and lots of challenges.
And Kathleen, you have a lot of wonderful things that you could offer to women, equipping them for AI and all kinds of other things that they may face in their careers or in their home lives. How can people connect with you, with Influence Women, and with other programs that you might want to offer?
I would love that. So I lead a national or global organization called Influence Women, and they can access that at influencewomen.org. I often say too, if you're looking for me, I have an E on the end of Cook. I'm a cookie. So I'm Kathleen Cooke. And we have great events on at chapter groups around the United States, but we also have an online chapter group. So I've been privileged to speak and teach in almost 60 countries over the years, done productions and traveled quite extensively. And we have a global audience now that clicks into our online chapter director. So I'm just this week going to be, I'm working with our new chapter director for online. We've had one embedded in Israel the last couple of years, but now we have one coming to us from India. And so Sabina Tagore Emmanuel will be our new chapter director online. So if you're not living near a chapter group for Influence Women, you can still be a part of Influence Women, again at influencewomen.org. We also have a podcast at we have the Influence Women podcast. We do a journal every week that you'll get when you become a member, and it is a free membership online. We want to know who you are, and we want you to get involved. We have an interactive website as well, and not just a landing page. So you can go on to a community page on our website and have questions answered. You can connect with writers or producers or actors. So we want to be able to connect women. Like I said, I have those C words. We connect women so they can collaborate to be able to create, to change the culture for Christ. But we'd love for any and all of you to become a member of Influence Women. I tell women too, if you own a cell phone or have a social media account, you're in media. And you have a voice and an influence out there. And we'd love to have you become a member of Influence Women.
I hope that all of you listening were inspired and equipped to be a little less afraid, yet hold on to your wisdom when it comes to AI. And of course, I also hope that you will come back for the next episode of Flourish-Meant.